He stood outside his own mansion, the morning air thick with anticipation and fear. The crisp uniform of a gatekeeper clung awkwardly to his body, a disguise no one would ever imagine on a man worth billions. Alexander Cole, one of the most powerful businessmen in the country, looked nothing like the name that built empires. His tailored suits had been replaced with faded clothes, his luxury watch swapped for a cheap wristband. But this morning wasn't about wealth, power, or image. It was about truth. He was about to test the woman who might soon marry his only son, and the result could change his family's future forever. When the black limousine pulled up to the gates, Alexander straightened. Inside, his son Adrian sat beside his beautiful fiancée, Vanessa. To everyone, Vanessa was perfect, graceful, educated, and poised, the kind of woman any man would be lucky to have. But something in Alexander's heart had whispered doubt ever since the engagement began. He had seen her eyes linger too long on luxury, her smile shine only when expensive gifts appeared. Adrian was blinded by love, and Alexander feared his son would lose more than money, he'd lose his peace. The test would be simple, cruel perhaps, but necessary. For the next few days, he would live as the gatekeeper of his own estate, invisible, unnoticed, and entirely beneath her attention. He wanted to see who Vanessa truly was when no one was watching. As the car approached, Vanessa lowered the window and frowned. "Why is the gatekeeper so old and slow?" she muttered. Alexander bowed slightly, pretending not to hear. Adrian smiled politely. "He's new. My dad must have hired him recently." Vanessa sighed impatiently, scrolling on her phone. "Well, tell him to be faster next time. I hate waiting." The words stung, even though Alexander had prepared himself. But he only nodded and opened the gates, watching as the car rolled past. He had been insulted before, by competitors, critics, even politicians, but never had it hurt like this. Because now, the insult came from the woman who claimed to love his son. For the next few days, Alexander stayed in character. He swept the driveway, carried groceries, even fetched water for the guests. Vanessa barely noticed him except to issue orders. "You missed a spot. Can you not walk so close? Don't touch the car, you'll scratch it." Each word cut deeper than the last, but not everything was as painful. Adrian, his son, was kind. He often stopped to chat, offered him lunch, and even helped with heavy work. Watching his son's compassion gave Alexander hope, a hope that maybe, just maybe, Adrian had inherited more than wealth from him. One rainy afternoon, the true test came. Vanessa and Adrian were heading out to meet wedding planners. As they stepped outside, the rain began to pour heavily. The gate was locked from the inside. Alexander had taken the keys to check the latch. When Vanessa saw him standing there, soaked, she snapped, "Are you blind, old man? Open the gate." "We're getting wet," she shouted, stepping back to avoid a puddle. Alexander hurried over, fumbling with the keys. The mud made him slip, and he nearly fell. Vanessa groaned in disgust. "Honestly, Adrian, fire him. This is ridiculous." But Adrian hesitated. "He's just trying his best, love. Let him, best. He's incompetent. Look at him." Alexander finally managed to open the gate, apologizing softly. Vanessa brushed past without even a glance. But as the car drove away, Alexander stood frozen in the rain, tears mixing with the drops on his face. He had his answer. That night, he couldn't sleep. The mansion that once felt like home now echoed with silence. He sat in the guard's booth, staring at the security footage of the day, and wondered, had he failed as a father? Had he raised a son so trusting that he couldn't see deceit? Or had the world simply become too shallow for true love? The next morning, fate delivered its second act. Adrian came home early, carrying flowers and a small ring box. He planned to surprise Vanessa, to give her a new ring he had designed himself. Alexander stayed at the gate, watching as Adrian entered quietly through the back. Moments later, a sound froze him, voices, angry and sharp. Inside, Vanessa was on the phone. "I told you, I'll handle the marriage for a year, maybe 2. Once I'm in, his father's company will be mine to manage. After that, I'll decide what to do with him. He's sweet but useless." The phone slipped from Adrian's trembling hand. Alexander felt his knees weaken, even from outside. He had prepared for cruelty, but not this kind of betrayal. Adrian walked in, his voice shaking. "Vanessa, what did you just say?" She froze. "Adrian. It's not what it sounds like. Don't lie to me." His voice cracked. "My father warned me, and I didn't listen. He wanted to protect me, and I thought he was being unfair." Vanessa's mask fell away. "Oh, please, Adrian. You think I actually wanted you? I wanted a future, a name. You were just part of it." Before she could say more, Alexander entered the room, still dressed as the gatekeeper. Vanessa blinked, confused. "What is this man doing here?" Adrian turned to her, tears in his eyes. "This man," he said slowly, "is my father." Vanessa's face drained of color. "What?" "No," Alexander stepped forward, removing his cap. "You looked down on me because you thought I was poor. You shouted, insulted, and humiliated me. But you didn't know who was watching." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The silence stretched painfully long until Alexander whispered, "You've shown me who you truly are. And now, I know what kind of future my son deserves, one without lies." Vanessa tried to apologize, but it was too late. Adrian walked past her, leaving the ring on the table. The woman who had dreamed of wealth was left standing in a mansion that no longer welcomed her. Weeks later, Adrian found peace in distance and purpose. He joined his father's foundation, working on projects that helped underprivileged families, people who had nothing but kindness. The experience changed him, humbling him, healing him. One afternoon, while they watched children play at a shelter they funded, Adrian turned to his father. "You were right, Dad. Love can't be tested with money, but people can be." Alexander smiled faintly, his eyes moist. "Sometimes, son, we have to lose what we thought we wanted, to find what we truly need." The sun dipped behind the clouds, casting golden light on their faces. For the first time in years, Alexander felt peace, not because his wealth was safe, but because his son's heart finally was, and somewhere deep inside, he whispered a silent prayer of gratitude, not for fortune, not for success, but for truth, because in the end, the greatest riches aren't found in what we own, but in who we become when tested by love.